Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Adorned with Dignity. Today we are on day 17 and we are talking about the awesome responsibility of women. And we're almost about, I want to say we're almost about halfway through this sefer. And the temperature of the water is starting to get a little bit hotter. Every day it's going to get hotter. But not so much. I really hope, my biggest desire is that when it comes to tznuis in this generation, it almost seems like every talk we get about it, it almost seems like a strict musar. And I am so incredibly, I feel so unworthy to have been, the one to go out and really teach this lesson, because I feel like, who am I? I'm a student like you, right? I'm learning all of this like you. And I lean heavily to Hashem for his tremendous example of compassion in order to bestow compassion in all of the words that come out, because this is such a tough topic in this generation. It's such a tough mitzvah. It's so much easier. I don't even know that men are struggling as much to learn Torah the way we are struggling in this area. And I really hope that the spirit of what's coming out is really the urgency of the time we're living in. I know we can get this together. I'm so in awe that, we are that generation, the righteous women who redeemed them out of Mitzrayim will redeem them again in the end. And we are that generation. And I'm so awestruck that I'm part of that story and you're part of that story. So I really hope that in that spirit we continue on. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to get through this and we will get our act together. The check has already been made out to us. The story has been written. We just have to do it. We just have to live it. So we're going to talk today, and it says the outcome of neglecting this responsibility. And it says that in the last lesson, we learn that it's the woman's responsibility to be careful that she doesn't attract the attention of other men. And the Orch Tzadikim expounded upon this unfortunate outcome of the woman who neglects her responsibility. And it quotes that a woman who beautifies herself in the presence of other men incites the Yetzirah, and she will be held responsible for this, since she was a stumbling block for the public. And our Chachamim have warned us against looking at the colorful clothing of women, even when they are not being worn. How much more so a woman held accountable if she's adorned herself in front of other men and caused them to look at her. So we have to be even careful of the colors that we're choosing. I think when it comes to this statement, first things first, we have to get our length right. And, so the length of the sleeves, the neckline, the length of the skirt, step by step. Let's not just, I think when you're taking it on little by little, it's like it almost becomes like nothing. Before you know it, you're fully where you have to be if you just take it on slowly but surely. Please do not drive yourself crazy and think I have to go and throw everything out right now. And every step you take, it's such a plus. It's such a huge thing. So it says, indeed, most women who dress attractively in public are completely unaware of the harm they're causing. As one woman attested, I used to wear a long, glamorous curly sheitel. I don't have any intention of causing men to sin, yet unfortunately that's what I did. And it says that Rebbetzin Klugaft, the daughter of the Skolner Rebbe Shlita, and I think that's how you pronounce her name, and I apologize if it's not the way. It says, relates the following story, which demonstrates the detrimental effects of a woman beautifying herself in public. And it says that one summer, I was on my way to speak to a crowd of women on the topic of tznuis. When the car service driver heard that I was on my way to a gathering devoted to modesty, he tearfully told me the following words. I'm not a yeshiva student. I wear colored shirts, and I've been working already for many years. Yet I still yearn to be a devout Jew. Unfortunately, the women with their attractive shaitels and alluring perfumes don't allow me to be erlich. Please tell them to be careful. And in truth, it's funny that since I think once people heard that I was teaching this book, all these stories, Hashem was so great about all the stories that have come to me from all over. And there's stories, some we know that are local, some that we know that are, far. And I remember hearing a story, and it was talking about a girl who was in a deli, and she was eating her food, and a guy comes up to her and approaches her, and he's, trying to make a match here. He's trying to, see if she's available to go out on a date. And she was horrified, and she said, I'm married. And she was actually pregnant. And she was horrified because she felt did he not recognize that I had a sheitel on? And the reason why he felt like that is your sheitel looks so natural. So it's very true. It is sometimes hard to distinguish. I mean, not only between that, but sometimes, and everyone has come across this, right? I am a woman, and sometimes I find myself having a hard time not staring at a woman. And, it's true. It's some of the colors are so bright, and it's not even it looks bad. It doesn't even that it looks bad. It's just not tznuah. It's not tznu. And so if it's hard for me sometimes to not look away, I can't imagine, because we talked about the experiment of men thinking of it 19 times of a woman in the wrong way 19 times a day. So I could, there's times I can't stop staring at a woman. I can't imagine what they're going through. So it says, there's a story brought down by the Hagayon Harav Dan Siegel Shlita, and he related in a speech that was given in the city of Bnei Brak, and he had confessed that many men were confiding in him that they were struggling with great nisayons due to the shaitels of clothing of fruma women. We're not even talking about secular women, from women, which affected them more than the amass attire of the secular women. And I got to tell you, it is a very big struggle. It is a very big struggle. I don't think that women are truly aware of the frequency in which a man is, they are very visual. And I don't think that we will ever fully understand. And I think the best thing to do is educate yourself that is the reality. That is just the way they have to educate themselves to childbirth. And remember, we made that comparison that they don't know what that feels like, yet they know it exists. It's a real thing. We have to also do the same thing. We have to understand that, this attraction exists. It exists. And it's no different. I think sometimes we see this, you can understand this more when we're talking about somebody who's ill. And when you see their illness on the outside, everyone knows there's such compassion to that person. But when you don't see the illness, it's like an illness that's from the inside. Sometimes it's a little harder to be compassionate. This is the same way. Just because we don't see, it's not like tzitzis. We don't see it on the outside. This is a mitzvah that's coming from within. And sometimes we fail to realize that it's a true battle. This really is going on. This is happening. This is what they're dealing with and struggling with. So it says, indeed, a woman who attracts attention to herself in public unintentionally creates many pitfalls. Firstly, she falls under the category of one who causes others to sin. And as I'll teach us, that one who causes a person to sin is worse than the one who kills him, since one who kills him cuts him off only from this world, yet one who causes him to sin cuts him off from Olam hazeh and Olam haba. Right? If you murdered a person, all right, you took away his goof from his neshama, okay, but he still has Olam haba. But when they're sinning, not only they cut off here, they cut off there. So it's like a double jeopardy. It's a very bad thing. So it says, secondly, she breaches the foundation of her creation, which is to be modest. It is known that upon creating every part of the first woman, Hashem declared the same phrase in prayer, you shall be a modest woman. And he reiterated this countless times in order to establish this would be the essence of her being. Thirdly, through adorning herself in public with an attractive wig, eye-catching makeup, inappropriate clothes, and alluring perfume, she can destroy other families' shalom bayis. because many may find her more attractive than their own wives. And remember, this is a real thing because forbidden waters are sweeter. We talked about that. And it says, indeed, it is unfortunate that she is taking the gift of beauty that Hashem granted her in order to endear herself to her husband, and she's utilizing it to go against his will. It is a twofold wrongdoing, since she is betraying her husband in addition to causing other men to be attracted to her. Certainly, a woman who dresses inappropriately is unaware of the harm she's causing. Surely she would correct her ways upon learning about the importance of retaining her modesty and preventing others from sinning. You want to know the other way we know that this was the essence of a woman? You know, when you talk about every woman that's in the Torah, her tzniut is attached to it. There's always some reference to it. It's the common thread of every story of every woman in the Torah. There's always something about the essence of tzniut in there. So this, it's almost like this silent thing that's like, it's almost like the unsaid thing, the tzniut. And again, I spoke about, you know, how it is so, the difficulty and the extreme opposition that are coming from women to the Rebbeinu on this issue, you know, really kol hakavod, because they have been trying for so long. They're not doing this to hamper the fun for us, if you will. They're doing it because they know what the consequence is. They know what the consequence is. They're trying so desperately to get people to open their eyes. But we, the way the men have the Yetzirah and looking at women, we have such a Yetzirah in this area of tznius. It's a very, very difficult thing. And I think that once you are honest with yourself, if we can be honest with ourselves about the difficulty, then I think we have a chance. Because if you don't even acknowledge, then how can you even really do anything to change? It's only when you acknowledge, even if you're not getting it right all the time, but you acknowledge it's there. You're so conscious and aware of it. Then that becomes the catalyst to change. First, it's like when Moshe Rabbeinu turned and it caused Hashem to look. That turning, that's the biggest step right there. That's the biggest step in tshuva that you're going to take, that just initial turning. So it goes on that it states that the correct way to conduct ourselves, and it says a woman may look presentable when she goes outdoor, right? So you shouldn't look like you have a shmata on your head. You should look presentable. No, you know, my Rav, he's so funny. He always said, there's no mitzvah, you know, to look like you have a shmata. There's no mitzvah in looking ugly. That's not what it said, to be modest. And the women of this generation are so creative, right? They're so creative. And if you're not creative, there's so many people around us that are creative in their dressing. And so it's not all that difficult. You know, when you're looking for something, all of a sudden it becomes a magnet. Everything comes to you if you're looking for it, right? When you're not looking for it, then it becomes harder. Then you're like, oh, I can't do it. There's nothing wrong. But I got to tell you, you know, all of us, I think in this day and age, unless you're living, and again, and I've even said these quote unquote modest stores, I'm telling you, I wouldn't, there's a lot of them, I wouldn't even shop in them. I wouldn't even shop in them because I don't know where they got the definition of modesty. But a tight skirt above your knee is not a modest skirt. That's it. I'm saying it that blunt. It's just not. I don't even know where they thought it was okay to bring it into the store unless they were running out of rags to clean the counters. I don't know where they got the idea thinking it was okay. But it goes further and it says, yet the Gemara cautions that she should hide her full beauty in public so she doesn't cause others to stumble. And actually they give this great example of Ruth, which, you know, I'm always so fascinated by the women of the Torah, right? This is why we learn from them. This is why their experience is there to teach us. And I got to tell you, I've said this before, say it again. You know, we've lost the art of just what it is to be, you know, tzniut, to have that wisdom. even more than that, like to have that wisdom. And it says that we learn from the righteous women, Ruth, how to conduct ourselves, and Naomi, who told Ruth to beautify herself with beautiful clothes, jewelry, and makeup, and to go out in the fields and meet Boaz. Yet Ruth had a more commendable idea, which she is praised by our Chachamim. And I gotta tell you, I give her kol hakavod too, because this is very smart. And she says, she dressed in a standard manner, took along her beautiful clothes and jewelry, and only adorned herself when she arrived at the fields. Indeed, the zechus of her exemplary tznuis, she merited to be the mother of Mashiach. I gotta tell you, she really was an extremely amazing woman. She was an extremely amazing. I mean, that was so smart. And that wasn't even the advice that she was given. You know, she was given to go out that way, and she took it one step further. And that's the thing that Hashem loves. It's just that little extra effort, that little extra effort. And it says, in the zechus of the righteous women, and the Gemara teaches that one of the reasons why the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed was because of the sin of adultery. To which the Gemara brings a proof in the pasuk in Yeshaya. In those times, the Jewish daughters attracted undue attention in public. We see from her that the lack of tznuis is equivalent to the avera of adultery. In a different place, the Gemara teaches that looking at a woman is actually even worse than the avera of adultery. It says, indeed, if we strengthen our tznuis and correct this sin, we will surely merit the rebuilding of the final Beit HaMikdash, as the Midrash teaches that in the zechus of the righteous women, our forefathers were redeemed from Mitzrayim, and in their zechus, we will be redeemed in the future. So two things I want to bring up in closing, because this is, we finished off this chapter. And, we talked about I think it was a few shiurim back, we talked about that this almost does seem that even if you're, when you're flirting around with your tznuis, when you're playing around with your tznuis, it's the equivalent of that emotional affair. Remember, we talked about that? We talked about that emotional affair. That sometimes I think is even more devastating than the physical one, because there's a connection there. And that connection can become so deep-rooted that it does cause you to leave. So, it's so amazing how they're bringing up this example of the Gemara and how the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed for the sin of adultery. But secondly, I want to say it's what I opened up with. And there it is. There it is right there. That the Midrash has already said, in the zechus of the righteous women, our forefathers were redeemed from Mitzrayim, and in the zechus, they will be redeemed in the future. So that means we are that future. We are that future. Every woman that's listening to this, you are the Calvary. You are the one that they've all been speaking about. The righteous women. I know that we can get this together. I know that we can do it. With Hashem's help, we're going to be successful. We're going to get this together, because no one loves Hashem more than the women of Am Yisrael. No one. And I don't know that in all of history, really the women of Am Yisrael have been so crucial in getting us to this moment. And I know that, we are the generation that's going to get us to the finish line. I am excited. I know it looks bleak, but I'm very excited, because Hashem can do anything. And all you have to do is have the desire. You just have to have the desire. Even if you're not there, if you have the desire, that's it. It's just like that one turn. That's all it takes. And that's it. Just open for Hashem that pinhole, and He will do the rest. And I'm so confident. And I just have so much faith in all of the women of Am Yisrael. We're going to get this together. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to do it together in simcha, in joy. It should be such a great zechus. But that's it for today. And I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.